Good afternoon, everybody. I am going to use one of my first videos here to show you how to turn Google Slides into a usable student-generated note application. In our classroom, we really promote the idea of outlining and being able to go through the textbook and really pick out the main ideas. And what I've been able to do is by using Google Slides to have the kids collaboratively make one of these outlines, which then they are able to use as notes. And I'm going to show you how we do that. So the first thing that I always do, you'll see on my page here, I always do the section and the chapter. So the chapter was chapter 13, section 1, student generated notes. I always am able to, when I am completed with setting it up, I will go ahead and apply it to Google Classroom so the kids have access to it. And there's going to be some things that you need to do when you make the assignment and post it to give them access. So, but to do that first, what we need to do is you need to go into your Google Drive, okay? And in your Google Drive, you'll go ahead in the upper left-hand corner, click New, and you will make a slideshow. From there, when you have done that, you will go ahead and what I do, I'm going to go ahead and click up a template of what 5.1, and you'll see this is chapter 5, section 1, student generated notes, and what it looks like. What I do is any of the orange slides, and typically when I do this, any colored slides are the ones that I put in and I tell the kids not to mess with. So here's the chapter, which would be about Greek mythology. I went ahead and added in some videos, so I was able to embed some videos from YouTube to help explain the concept. Then I go throughout the chapter, and I will make blank slides that typically will have headings. Obviously, this one is key terms. We see the gods and goddesses. For our textbooks, there's one or two ways of doing this. We can go with the headings, which in our books are red and blue. So I'll tell the kids we're going to be doing red and blue headings today. And they will be able to look and find their slide associated with their heading or their section. So in this case, the way I have it set up is each blue heading was a orange slide. Typically, I would put a video that helped introduce it. And then the kids would end up telling me who the key terms or what the key terms were for that section, who the key people were, and then the 5 big ideas from their section. I would break the kids up into a variety of groups. It might be in groups of 2 or 3, with them being responsible for potentially 2 or 3 of the slides, maybe an entire section. I've done it different ways, but what you do is you create what you want. So as you can see, as I go through, you'll see I have a number of different slides, key terms. It really repeats itself. So this is really simple to make. All you'd have to do is hit add a new slide, type in whatever the heading is, and then the slide's all ready to rock and roll. Okay, so that's the template, and that's very important that you do that first. I'm going to go ahead and delete this slide so we don't confuse anybody later on in my classes. So I've gone ahead and created the slide. Now what I do is when I go back to my folder where I have it generated, I have to make a copy for every single period. And here's the reason why. Is if I make one copy and I assign it to all my classes, that means all 115 students that I have access to one set of notes. And that's not what I want. What I want is I want each period to have it. So I have to make a copy, and you'll see I have it listed period 1, 5.1 student generated notes, period 4, 5.1 student generated notes, period 5, and so forth. So you can see that I have 5 different classes that will be working on them. When I have each one of these classes made up, so the easiest way to do this would be to right click, and I would make a copy, and I would make 5 different copies, and then I would have to go in and rename it to what you see there. Now, when I go in to Google Classroom, I will go in and go into classwork. I would hit create, and I do an assignment. Now, since I'm in period 1, this will be accessed by only my period 1 students. I would title it, I'm just going to make this up, 5-1 generated notes. Typically I put student generated notes. My typing is not the best of right now. I would go in, I have mine organized by topics. So I have a topic that would go under chapter 5. I don't make a graded assignment. That is totally up to you. And then from there, I would go into my Google Drive. And you'll see that's in the recent, or I can type in 5-1 student generated notes. It would show up. And I would put it in there. Now, when I do this, if you guys see where my cursor is, you'll see students can view file. I want to click the students can edit the file. If I do that, then only those students in period 1 will have the ability to get in and edit, and that's what we want them to do. Another option that you can do is you can make this for every student. So instead of having it as group work, you can have every student make their own set of notes, and then that would make a copy for each one. So then there would be a folder in your drive that would say 5-1 student generated notes, and each student would have their own. I don't recommend that because that's just a lot of work. The reason why we do this, the group student generated notes, is it helps my lower and my higher kids. It helps all my kids be able to formulate a classroom set of notes. Then when we are done with this, I go ahead and I got to redo that. I'm going to show you again. Click on that. Make sure that you do student can edit and assign. When it has assigned, if you go back to the stream, it will show up right at the top. Okay. And so then a student will be able to click on it. We'll go to instruction, and then I'm able to open, and then they now have access to it, and then they will go in and do their guided reading for the chapter, which this is what they'll use. They'll be responsible for their slides, and then it is shared with everybody in the class, so we can see everybody what their work that they're doing and what they're monitoring. So it's really good for being able to keep an eye on also what kids are or what work they're doing, because obviously those of you Google, you'll see their names pop up and you can watch it, what they type. And so it's a great way of also monitoring what students are putting in. Now, when everything is all said and done, what I do as the teacher is I will put this into presentation mode by clicking that button, and then I actually lecture over this. Something I'm going to do different next year is I'm going to assign what's called the class editor. So as I'm lecturing over this, I may have 1 or 2 kids open up the document and they're going to follow along with me. And as I make corrections to what I see in their presentations, they'll make the changes, and then the students will be able to, after the lecture, they can go in and access this one universal set of class notes, and they'll be able to study off of one. And since corrections were made while I was lecturing, the kids will hear it and they'll know it, and hopefully they'll be able to make those connections. And that is just one of the ways that I use Google Slides to make student-generated notes.